Hello, lovelies. Today is Wednesday, April the 16th, 2025. And I was hoping to do a recording a couple of days ago when this actually started in alignment, but a lot has been happening at the moment. For me personally, it's been quite an intense time and lots coming up for review. At this astrological time, we have got so many new beginnings coming in. And so it's a really, really powerful energy at the moment. And of course, this whole 360-day cycle is all about Aries. Who am I? Who do I want to be? How am I becoming a conscious dreamer? The hero, heroine in my own story of life at this time of year. It's always really powerful because the sap is rising and we're remembering who we really are, which is we're a spiritual being having a human being experience. And the human being part of us is connected to Gaia, to the earth, and also the planets, the universe. And we have been conditioned to believe that our mind is the one that creates everything, does everything, and is creating it largely for most people from an unconscious place, just simply repeating past patterns of ancestors and culture. And now, the people who are awakening and transforming, this is a very different vibe. And it's intense because we've got to get with the cosmic program right now. And it's time. There's no hesitating, there's no hanging around, there's no staying in untruth. Which, again, if you replace the word God or goddess for truth, that's another way of seeing the bigger picture. That we're in a quantum intelligent universe that we are a part of. We're not separate from that. The only thing that's holding us separate is the old wounding, the shadow story, the belief system that keeps us entrenched in war and in ego and duality and competition and all these things that have been designed by corrupted mindsets and belief systems to disempower and create a feeling that we're separate and that we have to compete and we have to outdo each other instead of coming together and working in cooperation and community, which is the age of Aquarius, where it's fair for everyone. So as I'm making this, we are on day 3, and we're in the manifestation of the conscious dreamer reality, blue planetary night. And the planet is Saturn. And that's going to be the next big shift. Saturn going into Aries in July, where the whole structure of authority is going to change. And that's also really related to our personal structures. So it's remembering that the world outside of us cannot change until each individual has changed. So that's going to take a while, isn't it? In the meantime, the people who are really focused on these sort of frameworks, healing, doing something new that comes from an enlightened place, meaning we have illuminated our shadow story and we are healing it, and we're not doing these old habits, these old belief systems. this system really shows us where we are at in terms of the bigger picture of the universal plan, the divine plan, and how we are still repeating old patterns or still not asking the right questions, making the right actions, because Aries is Mars, it's all about taking action. And it's also the child of the zodiac as well. It's the initiator. It's where we came into the world as a baby and what we inherited genetically, and also how our environment shaped us, who shaped us on all those different levels. So now we're becoming really consciously aware of that and how we work, how our body works. That's so essential for the human being wanting to change. It's not enough just to read it in a book. It's about actually taking action around these old stories that we're holding in our amygdala, in our fight, flight, and freeze place. Because if we don't heal those, the nature of how that works is we keep projecting that story literally over and over again until we heal it and we feel it. That's the thing, is feeling the emotion, becoming emotionally resilient in our center. And so, again, this is fundamental to the process, because down at the bottom here we have got blue storm and yellow sun. And these two hold the process of the light and what takes us out of our center. This is the year that we're in on the planet. We are in blue rhythmic storm. And so ideally in the future, we want to be calm. We don't want to be having meltdowns. We want to be able to be cool, calm, and collected around making choices, making decisions, creating our life, and understanding how, if we have got an emotional storm going on, it's always about the shadow story, it's always about the past. And the more that we learn about how to heal this personally as well as, going to other people and remembering that the Aquarius energy is all about being in a team. It's about creating power teams of support that are solution focused, and also going into the emotion, not avoiding the emotion, and learning how to do this for ourselves, to soothe our emotions in a healthy way and not use addictions and coping mechanisms or other people or diversions. This is not about how we are part of a team in terms of this is my better half, or I feel lost because that person has gone out of my life. That's codependency. This is about balancing the masculine and the feminine within us so that we are self-reliant and interdependent. So yes, we need other people in our community, but in a healthy way. We're all individuals, we're all unique, and we all bring our own gifts as well. And often where the wounding starts is that has not been embraced and that has not been valued, and we didn't get our emotional needs met as children. But now it's time for us to parent ourselves and not look for a parent in another person. And so often in relationships, we end up having a romantic relationship with our dad or our mum in another person. And we keep doing that until we realize that this is what is looking to be matured in ourselves. This is a new learning that we need to have. So today we're looking at the manifestation, basically. We've done 23 days, first 20. Remember, we go through each one and then we pop up onto the next one for the next energetic space and process. And so we had the first one where we were initiating with the Great Mother, and then we went through the 13 days of the first wave spell, which was all about being in alignment with Neptune, which is deep esoteric wisdom in its pure form. However, we cannot embody that and live with that whilst we still got our shadow stories running, whilst we still got our codependency, we still got our coping mechanisms. We're not in alignment with truth. We're in alignment with the old program that is toxic. I'm just going to say that. The old program is toxic. And all the good stuff is great. The more we heal the toxic stuff and we stop doing the toxic stuff, the more we can radiate the light, the more that we can feel healthy, feel good, and actually remember who we really are and stop being veiled by things that we used to believe, things that we just copied, we modeled, and that's what we all do. That's why the world doesn't change, because we're stuck in this program of 12, and this program gives you the 13 of the shift, the cosmic shift. As long as you're healing on the inside, that is a crucial component. Without that, you just stay in awareness, but you don't go any deeper than that. And you tend to still be doing the old patterns of coping and, addictions and not feeling it. Feeling it is where it's at. It's all about the heart and the emotions. And no amount of outside influence is going to change that either. So whatever supplements you're taking, whatever exercise regime you're doing, all of that's great, but it isn't going to change your emotional intelligence or resilience. That's a separate factor, and that is so important to understand at this time. It is all about the emotional evolution. Okay, so we began. So today is Wednesday, so we began this on Monday. And so on this day was Galactic Dragon, Red Galactic Dragon. So that meant we were basically integrating the first 13 days. Okay. And then where we are now is we began with White Wizard in this first 20-day process. And we went down to Yellow Sun. And we're still in White Wizard. Okay, so there's a 13-day process and there's a 20-day process. And the 20-day process is Red Dragon to Yellow Sun. So what the Great Mother is bringing us for our conscious evolution, where are we being illusional? Where are we being delusional? Coping mechanisms, people pleasing, not wanting to see, the good old denial, which helps us survive because it keeps us alive. We're not going to be confrontational with people if we're a people pleaser, but we're not going to thrive either, because being diplomatic is very different to being a people pleaser. And remember, all of this energy has to go somewhere, wherever we're suppressing our true nature. If we're really angry and we want to say something, but we don't, that anger's still running, which is why it's important to emotional freedom technique, use tapping, and let go of that anger so that you can speak to somebody in an assertive way without the drama, without the emotion, wherever possible. That's a good call. But at the same time, sometimes we do have to get angry depending on the severity, because sometimes people do not listen and they keep doing the same over and over again. So if it's life threatening as well, that's what anger is for. It's a force to be reckoned with. And so many people have just suppressed that, because you know that if you get angry with somebody who is bigger than you, who has more power than you, so going back to childhood again, maybe your parent, maybe somebody who's looking after you, or a teacher, or somebody who's a bully at school, there are going to be consequences. So these are where we've learned over time to turn ourselves down and maybe hide and maybe just stay out of the way. But that's not what we're here for. We are here to shine. And so the more that we heal this, it works on every level. And I just wish I had a way of really sharing this. We're finding a way to not sacrifice ourselves, but to be brave, courageous, and the full light of us. So we're not here to play small. We're not here to be diminished. And remember, this wave spell is all about being in our sovereignty, in our power. And what I understand this to mean is we have to face the times when we've been disempowered, heal them, clear them, using the movie technique, emotional freedom technique. And this releases that old energy that is keeping us stuck in an old spell, in an old curse. This is Aries, the asteroid Aries, that again is being highlighted at this time because she's in Aries. So this is what has to go. This is what has to heal. And I truly believe and experientially understand through my own experience and working with other people that until we do this process on the inside, we are not going to change our behavior, because it's all wired in together. So if we're still running an old story about public speaking when we were a child, when we come to do some public speaking as an adult, it's still in there. And I've worked with many people on this. When you release that old story, you get your confidence back and you reset yourself. It's very important to understand the science behind this, the energy in our body. And emotional freedom technique works with speaking about the issue, feeling the issue, and also releasing the meridians in the body, the chi. And this is so crucial. It's not in the Western medical model as a standard practice. More and more people are starting to understand. EFT is like acupuncture without the needles. And it's not just having it done to you or looking at that sort of model. This is about the individual becoming emotionally aware and feeling it and freeing that energy. Because again, all addictions are based on emotional freedom in some way. They're all about not being able to deal with the feelings at certain stages in life that begin in childhood. So it's really important to understand. Okay, so the first 20 days, we've had number 1 to number 7, both Akashic record days. Okay, so we're seeing what's resonating with light, seeing what our shadow story is, what our survival issues are. That's always the first 20 days. Now, by now, you've got that information because this has been happening in your world if you're ready to see it. And if you're watching this video, I guess that you are. There's no avoiding it, because we take ourselves wherever we go. We're here in our own mystery school at this time because it's time for us to change. Okay. So there's been lots of ways of doing this over thousands and thousands of years, and we've been here doing it. And now we're at a different space and time where it's all coming together. So it's really exciting, even though it's challenging, because everything is here to help us change. So we began on Monday, and this is the galactic dragon. So we're integrating, remember, on day 8 of every 13-day process. This is a time when we look back either on the last 13 days or on the last 13 years. It's all the same, micro and macro. And then we see, okay, what came up that I need to integrate so that I can align with the Great Mother? Because there's some part of me that is not yet in her plan. And I'm getting triggered. I'm experiencing relationship in a way that I don't want to experience it. Maybe I'm ill, maybe other people are ill. Maybe there are big old storylines coming up again. And the way that you can really help yourself as well is use a journal. And if you haven't got one yet and you would like one, I'm trialing it at the moment to get people's feedback, how I can make sure that it works for people and helps them. Because remember, at this time of year, what you're trying to do is see the patterns historically for yourself. So, for example, for me, giving birth to my son and everything that meant for me personally, going to a whole different stage of being a human being because of that. And lots of other things happened around that time. And even though I've been doing this now for 14 years, there's still things that are popping up that blow me away. It's like, wow, okay, yeah. Because that's how our mind works. That's how this whole thing works. This is us on a bigger level. We only become consciously aware when it's time of that thing. It's like they discover an archaeological dig. They find something under the pyramids. It's all perfectly timed to match the consciousness. So the more conscious we become and the more healed we become, the more insights we get, the deeper it goes, the more magical it becomes. The less we become attached to things, the more compassion we can have because we've got compassion for ourselves. And we're not still playing out the blame game. We're not still playing out the pain body going on. And we just go deeper and deeper. And we get freer and freer. And this impacts on everything else, of course, because we don't need to have arguments. We don't need to have drama. We don't need to have war with other people. We get it. And of course, the universe reflects that holographically because we don't get the same situations. Okay, so we're going from integration of this initiating 13-day cycle, and we're running down to the initiation of yellow sun. And yellow sun is a clear sign. So it's going to be very powerful by the time we get down to the end of the 20 days. Because a clear sign is on the tomb, in the Temple of Inscriptions in Palenque, Pakal Votan. If you don't know about that, check it out. Check it out on my blog. I've written several articles about 13 clear signs. And this is a crucial, crucial process. Whenever you get a clear sign popping up, there's 13 of them, you know that this is very powerful because it's what the human being needs to clear. And so by the time we, get down to this yellow sun, we are getting to the manifestation point of this first 52-day cycle. And so we're seeing how much light we hold. In this first 52 days, we're awakening to the cosmic mother and our survival stories of our mother on a personal level, and we're learning how to mother ourselves. Then we get the empowerment coming up, which is, okay, so what were my mother's empowerment issues? And I guarantee if you're a woman, there'll be very similar stories around the toxic masculine going on. So inappropriate behavior with the toxic masculine, when you were a child, people who were in positions of power. Now, sometimes this is women as well, but more often than not, it is men. Men who abuse their position of power with young, innocent women. This is still going on. This hasn't changed for thousands and thousands of years. And then how women have to change their behavior to try and deal with it. More and more documentaries coming out about this all the time, where women are now coming out, speaking out about what went on in their family. And this again is like a curse in itself. It means that if one person is brave enough, and again, this is the astrology of all these old ancestral wounding patterns with the asteroids of the centaurs. And again, this is a huge subject in itself, but if you check that out, Google that, where the sacred feminine has been abused, has been, again, it can be a physical thing, it can be rape, it can be pushing the sacred feminine oracles. So it's all in Greek mythology as well, if you look that up. If your heritage is Greek, very important. If your heritage is Italian, for example, the Mediterranean, very important around, because this is where the 12 came from, the Gregorian calendar and the religion. And so suppression of the women, abuse of the women, and their oracle ability, their psychic ability, the witches, the women who were wise. It's all that in history. And how men took away their power of midwifery, of healing, of, all these models that are in place today. This used to be the domain of women. All the patterns are the same of how it's been taken away, how it continues to be taken away, and it begins in our own families. So the more that people start to speak out and say no, and that's huge, it's really difficult. Often we need to go back to family members and say, look, this happened, and be prepared for the denial as well. Be prepared to be gaslit. Be prepared to not be heard. Another very important asteroid is Cassandra, and where that is in your chart, not being heard. No matter how many times you're putting it out there, you may be speaking on Facebook about things. And if you look at any of these threads where people are speaking out about significant events that have happened in time that have been misrepresented, let's put it that way, in a big way, in order to create fear in people and to manipulate their behavior. Look at the attack that they get from people in denial. So not only are you having to deal with your own issue and try and focus on that part of you that feels lost, that part of you that feels, why on earth did this happen to me? And should I even talk about it? Because, in times in the past when I've done that, I've just had to deal with so much incoming narcissistic gaslighting and projection, and I've done several workshops on this in the past. When you awaken to this and you start challenging it, it's massive, but it's key to our sovereignty. It's key to the Easter story and the Christ consciousness within, the second coming of Christ within us. Just look at the Christ story as a metaphor, for example, of what he went through and how each one of us is following that path, and how, in terms of your natal chart, you've got the cross is there, the ascendant, the descendant, the IC and the MC. That shows you your personal cross. Using the journal, you become aware of what your challenges are. This is the key focus, because this is going to keep coming round and round. It isn't going to go away. There's no hiding from it. We're all here to face our own personal demons at this time, heal them, and make that change, and be courageous and strong, and help each other to do that. Okay, so the second day that we had was White Wind number 9. That was yesterday. And a portal, a Akashic portal day of speaking truth from spirit. What is being illuminated by your intuition? And are you able to speak it out loud? Each one of these 13-day processes has a very significant timeline for you personally. And again, if you want to know what that is, or you don't know yet what your 13-year cycles are, please do get in touch with me. Then you can use this journal on a whole different level. But you've got to be ready to look. You've got to be ready to feel, and ready to really focus on yourself, because you are the most important person in your story. And that's the truth. And that can often be very challenging for people to actually accept that. And again, doubly hard for women, because we've been programmed to be the caregivers and to put everybody else first. And there is some truth in that, as a mother, as a part of the family that looks after the elderly or the sick. But what we're learning now is we have to be the change for ourselves and make sure that we are well first. Otherwise, we can't help anybody else. So we're going to run down until, like I say, we're on day 10 today. So we've got 11, 12, 13, and then we're going to go on to Blue Hand, which is, again, part of this 20-day process. And Blue Hand is about healing. So whenever we get to the 13-day process of blue, then we are transforming the first 2 13-day cycles. And Blue Hand is about becoming the avatar that we're here to be, the full potentiality of us, and how we shape our destiny by learning these healing modalities. So, how we use our hands not only to shape the earth, which is important, you know, what have you done so far in your life, literally with your hands? So, maybe you make things, beautiful things, you use them for healing, Reiki, quantum touch, massage, tapping, um, gardening, making the herbs that heal, just being in the beauty of the garden, and caring, loving touch, cleaning your sacred space, building your house, building your garden literally with your hands, making pottery, making tinctures, all of those wonderful hedge witchy things. And on an inner level, so remember that Blue Hand is part of the tribe of creating new pathways. We're literally creating new pathways on the outside, and first of all, doing it on the inside. So the neural pathways, the belief systems, the energy lines, that are coming down the body, and how to clear those blockages, muscle testing, finding out what your truth is in your body and your answers for yourself. So, this is such a powerful time. And today we have got the sun is in Aries, so bringing that new beginnings. And I'm just going to check what else is going on. So, big things that are coming up, I know. Good Friday, Mars is going back into Leo. So, again, this has been quite magical for a group of women I've been working with. And there's going to be something very significant going on at that time. Now, that is red crystal serpent. So, how do we get clear? How do we shed these snake skins? Red serpent's very powerful, 52-day cycle. It's going to be coming up in the future, and it's in the blue castle of transformation. So, how our Kundalini is moving around in our body, our energy up the spine, very important to know that. It's all about relationship. How we relate to ourselves is the most important thing. Today, we've got the moon is at 7 degrees of Sagittarius. And of course, we had that full moon in Libra energy, which was on Saturday. So we're now in waning moon. So what's resonating with what needs to heal? What are we letting go of? The sun is at 26 degrees of Aries, and Mercury, according to today on the Eastern timeline, Mercury has gone into Aries. So very powerful energy today, because we're getting all these 0 degrees of Aries coming in. We've got Neptune still at 0 degrees, which came in very early on in this 260-day cycle. And we're going to have, like I said earlier, Saturn going in July. So it's 0 point is a reset, new beginnings, new energy coming in. What mindset do we need to have to create the new me, the new I? Who am I? Who do I want to be? What am I actually seeing manifest at the moment around my level of conscious awareness? And think back sort of 20 years ago. Think of what your conscious awareness was then. If ever you're feeling down on yourself, about your progress, if your ego is giving you a hard time, as it often does, because it likes to focus on the negative as well, just think back to what you did then. For me, it's like, wow, drinking, doing lots of toxic relationship in so many different ways, and believing that cultural nonsense about, oh well, when you're going through a hard time, just go and you do some substance abuse. And having run bars for many years in my life, believe me, I've seen so many people go through this process as well and use it as a way of just really getting into it fully and compounding it, with a hangover as well. So as if life wasn't bad enough, but you just add to it with a hangover and spend all your money, on getting drunk, getting wasted. Um, but whilst you're in it, you often can't see it. So we're now learning amazing things about diet, exercise, spin stories in our culture that are so detrimental to our health. And there's no excuse anymore. We just got to get with it and release these old programs. We've got Mars at 29 degrees of Cancer today. So, again, this is a very powerful degree around home, mothering, nurturing. What needs to shift now for you? No excuses anymore. It's like once we know the information, once we've awakened to it, we have to get with the cosmic program. We've got Chiron at the 23 degrees of Aries. So again, this is powerful because this is close to the Sun degree as well. And Uranus is at 25 degrees of Taurus. So yeah, that's a powerful energy of being practical and shifting that moon story, that emotional story, and just making these mature decisions now, even though we may not have all the answers yet. We've got Pluto is at 3 degrees of Aquarius, so that's a great co-creation dynamic. And I just want to share the cards for today. Okay, so remember also we're in Planetary Moon at the moment, and this is time to see where we actually are in terms of our emotions. So, this is what I always find fascinating. I think I'm okay emotionally. I think I'm in a good space, and then I'll watch a film or I'll play some music. And this was an EFT guy who actually told me about this. I'm just trying to think of his name. I can't think of it at the moment. But I've worked with lots of different EFT teachers, and everyone has their own special gift and their own amazing insights. This is what I love about America as well, is there's so many EFT people here, and they've been doing this for years. And just a big shout out again to Gary Craig for creating this amazing technique and refining what came before. It's we're all in this together. We all contribute in some way, and truly, although it comes through us as an individual, it's all part of the collective evolutionary story. And so it doesn't really belong to any of us. That's the other thing. I know, like, if we're creating a business, we want to protect our work, as it were, and get remuneration for it, get an energy exchange. And hopefully at some point in the future, we won't need to do that anymore. No, it'll be there. Everybody will be putting their energy into what is the most amazing thing for the tribe. Imagine all the energy just that's going out into competition or um, battles with each other, right now. If all that stopped and it was all being channeled into creating a wonderful life for humanity. And I believe that is what's happening right now. We're at the start of it. And so it is a very exciting time. And that's what this is. The card is the galactic sun that's beaming that light, that plasma, that consciousness, and lighting us up. The solar energy, that gives life to everything on this planet. We don't even really understand how that works. We haven't even scratched the surface of it yet. The 20th Mayan sign, and how we change our light body through healing. All the darkness, all the shadow points, all the times in our life that have been very challenging for us, that's where the potential light is. And the card for today, which matches that magically, of course, number 20 is the Eon. And that's got some amazing stuff on there as well. So again, all spoken about in Egypt history. Horus, it's just changing these words. This is Christ in a different way. He arrived because of Osiris and Isis and the whole process. And again, if you don't know about that, check that out. Isis is. It is what it is. And how we go to such lengths as human beings to corrupt that truth. How we try and just, bend it just a little bit, change the rules just a little bit. How we've done it to try and navigate through this huge mess of emotional trauma. All of the illnesses, that's what's at the base of it, because our emotional mind, our unconscious mind, those deep parts of us that regulate all our hormones, regulate everything that's going on in our body, and we don't have to think about it. If we are running fight or flight all the time, if we are doing activities that are competitive, are about running, what is that really about underneath? It's just getting to that core space and balancing that up and saying, can we do it just for the love of it? Can we be in this world and do things without needing to get attention, without needing to feel validated? The more consciously aware we become of our meta program underneath, which is an NLP term, although interestingly, it is now a company as well. But if we go into what is underneath, where is our story not feeling good from the past? Because our mind does not know the difference between past, present, and future. It does not have a time. So important to understand that everything that has ever happened to us is still happening. And when we really focus on that, and we're willing to look at the stuff that didn't work well and cause suffering for us and heal it, that's not going to keep happening. And of course, there are going to be things in life that are challenging, death, illness, that's a part of life. How we react to that and how we navigate through that and how we understand. This is about learning and information, understanding what makes a human being thrive, and then aligning with that. That's where we're at. So I hope you have an amazing 20-day cycle. And as I said, if you get in touch, if you want the journal experience, if you want to know your codes, please get in touch. This is all completely free. There is no agenda. It's a service that I am gifting as part of my amazing journey with Azalkin. It's what it's here for at this time. The next new moon is coming up on the 27th of April, and I have a new moon circle for that. I will be making a separate video for that. If you want to join me, it's in person in Naples, in Florida, and it's also online, and it will be accessible to European times as well. So lots of love. Have an amazing conscious dreamer day, and just look at what you have created, what you've manifested, and notice how much of it has come from a very conscious, mindful, heartful space, and what hasn't. And the what hasn't is where the magic lies. So crucial to understand this now. Lots of love. See you soon.